Hello?
Hello?
What's going on? Who's this?
Peace, this is Skyzoo. What's the deal?
Oh, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good, good. What's going on?
Not much, man. So yeah, we're recording, man. So
Okay, word up. Yeah, I'm ready whenever y'all are. Appreciate y'all having me on.
yeah, appreciate you, man, for coming on. For
No doubt.
real.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
It's all love.
Yeah, man. So tell us about your thought process when you were coming up with your last album.
For all the brilliant things, oh man, a lot of times people ask me that, and they look at the album and how layered it is, and the concept and all that, with gentrification and cultural appropriation and all those things, and they're looking for like this really, textbook 100-page answer, you know what I mean, as to like how I came up with it and why I got there. And it's a really short answer for such a complex album.
Uh-huh.
Can we curse on the show?
Yeah, most definitely. Go ahead, man.
Yep.
Okay. I was just fucking fed up.
Right.
Like, it's that simple. I was just fucking fed up, man. Like, just, of my neighborhood, my community, my culture, all these things kind of being stripped away from me and the people who look like me.
Right.
And I'm just fucking fed up. Like, it's that simple. The album is extremely complex, but the reason why, or the lighter that sparked it, is very simple. I was just fed up.
Right. I mean, yeah, I totally understand that, man. So I mean,
and just to give you background on that, yeah, just being fed up, like I said, 'cause I don't want the people listening to think, like to not have the in-depth answer, but looking at, I'm being from Bed-Stuy, and watching my neighborhood watching my neighborhood go from Do the Right Thing and Crooklyn to an episode of Friends. Like literally watching that start to happen.
wow.
And watching the same thing happen to the culture. Like, don't get it twisted. The style is still the style, but it is very half and half now as far as the episode of Friends and a scene out of Do the Right Thing. It is very half and half now, and I
Right.
grew up in a time when it wasn't like that. And there's nothing wrong with different people moving into the neighborhood. I don't want that to come off that way. It's about the things that happen once people move into the neighborhood. It's never a situation where people move into the neighborhood and everything is love and they give us the love and respect that we deserve and that they expect from us. It's always, all right, we here, now y'all get the fuck out, and it's those things. And then you add that to the same thing happening with the culture, the same culture that they told us didn't matter. Now they're telling us how we're not doing it right and how they're the purveyors of it. And all that's what I mean when I say I'm fed up.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I understand that for real. So I mean, as far as the hip hop culture now, the way is changing with the younger rappers, like how do you feel about it?
I'm all for the youth. The youth is always going to run the world, as long as they're doing the right thing. Because no matter what we're talking about, the youth run the world. I mean, you look back in the 40s and 50s when rock and roll, it was the youth. It was the youth. The same music that's revered now was looked down on back then. Whether it was rock and roll, jazz, blues, R&B, funk, whatever. So it's always the youth. Excuse me, it's always the youth. So I'm excited for them as long as they're doing the right thing. You got some guys out here that's playing games, but then you got some guys and some girls. Let me rephrase that. You got some guys and girls out here that are getting busy, that are really, really getting busy. And I like that. I like the fact that the industry is in a space where you can go out there and find the diamonds in the rough and find the music. It doesn't have to be what's on the radio. It doesn't have to be what's on Rat Caviar or whatever streaming. You know what I mean? You could just go out there and dig. The same way heads had to dig in the crates back in the day, you can digitally dig in the crates now and just find people that are, that are really getting busy, that are doing what you're looking for, whether they got, 150,000 followers or 1,000 followers. You know what I mean? Like, it's there.
Yeah, I mean, I feel what you're saying, but I feel like with all the talent that certain people have, you shouldn't have to dig. It seems like the record companies,
shouldn't.
Yeah, the record executives, they're putting out, no disrespect to certain younger generation, but it seemed like it's drugs, it's the pills, it's the lean. That's what's being portrayed to our to the young people. You know what I'm saying? And
right.
Certain people.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
No, I'm saying I agree with you, man. It's that's always been the agenda. That's always been the MO of putting out what you can control. Like, so you got the higher ups that focus on, like you said, the pills, the drugs, whatever. There was a time when it was all, gangster shit, gun shit. You know, I mean, I had meetings with major labels where they would ask me if I ever been shot. They would ask me if I ever been in jail. You know, like those things happen. I literally would take meetings with major labels, and while they listen to the music and loving it, they'd be like, "Yo, you ever been shot? Yeah, you ever been in jail?" You know, like that happened, and it's the same thing now. You know, they go on your page and see if if you popping pills and got Xannies and lean and all that, because they can control that. They can't control somebody like me talking about Fred Hampton and somebody talking, I'm talking about Fred Hampton and gentrification and, how they turn living single into friends, because that sparks a whole nother brain thought. That sparks a whole nother thought of what can be for a generation that's listening, and it makes you go out there further. And they chalk it up to, well, we're just giving the people what they want. Well, the people want everything, like people don't just want McDonald's every day. Sometimes they want McDonald's. Sometimes they want Whole Foods. Sometimes they want, Amy Roofs. And sometimes they want, Jimbo's. Like there's a lot of, I'm talking a bunch of New York shit, but there's, there's more. The people don't only want one thing. Let me put it like that, but the excuse they give is that. But I agree with you 100%. We saying the same thing.
Right. So do you think that it's ever going to be a time where the conscious rappers like you, Corday, and just like some of the other younger generation that really be talking shit, do you think it's ever going to be a time where they will be put on the pedestal and show that this is what real hip hop is? Or you think that the culture is never going to go back to that?
Well, I think we're able to go there. I think we are there in certain regards now, just because there's so much room to do what you want. I mean, you named Corday. I think Corday was nominated for a Grammy. You know what I mean? So, that's usually like the pinnacle. You know what I'm saying? Like getting that nod, even if you don't win it, getting that nomination changes your life, changes your career. You're in the books. It's a very small club, and you got in. You know what I mean? Like it's a club that fit 200 people, and you was online, and the bouncer let you in. So it's. I don't know if it's ever going to be the most popular thing in the world as far as like on the radio and TV running it all day, because this thing is all about how much money can be generated from it, right? And the youth are also about just fun and having a good time and all that, which is great. That's fine. But it ain't too much fun when you're talking about, the things that need to be spoken about. So I don't know if it's ever going to be at the forefront, but there's always going to be room for it. There's always going to be a representation for it. And even more so nowadays, because there's more lanes. You don't have to depend on a label. You don't have to depend on the radio. You know what I mean? It'd be nice to have those things, but you don't have to depend on that. Like, I'm a product of that. I never had a major label deal in my life. I've had offers. I've turned offers down. I've gotten close to signing with majors and then decided it wasn't the right thing. But I have a career. I have a career where I sell records. I stream, I make money, I sell merch, I go on tour all the time before COVID. I ghostwrite, I do a bunch of different things, and my life is wonderful. I'm very blessed, and my bank account is very happy. You know what I mean? So there's always, you can have a career. I tell people all the time, just because you're not Drake, and Drake is awesome and extremely successful, I use him as a barometer as far as success. Just because you're not Drake successful does not mean you're not successful. Just because you don't have 150 million when people Google your net worth doesn't mean that you're not successful. And I think these kids get lost in that. It does not mean you're not successful, man. Being successful in this thing is doing this for a living, doing it because you love it, and making money off of it, and not having to go get a job or be in the street or do some other shit. You can literally make music and make a living off of your art. You made it. Now it's just how much further you can go,
Yeah, I mean, I feel you. Like me and my podcast partner were talking about it, and it seems like hip hop is a popularity contest. Like for instance, you brought up Drake, the Drake versus Kanye thing. Why can't we just celebrate both of them instead of like, you know what I'm saying? It's like both albums were pretty good in my opinion. I like Donda a little bit more, but I'm not going to talk bad about Drake. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like in this culture now, it's more about, he's richer, or, he did this, he did this. And I just don't understand the way that we're moving. And it's almost like, is it Drake and Kanye's fault, or is it us as consumers of their music?
Well, I agree with you. I think where that came from is, I don't know how old you are, but me, I'm 38. I'll be 39 at the end of this year. So I was born in the 80s, raised in the 90s, the early 90s, mid 90s, and I lived all of that, and I love it.
Right.
And back then, give you an example. To me, Illmatic is the greatest hip hop album of all time. That's me. I feel like it is the definition of hip hop.
Okay.
When Illmatic came out, Illmatic was the biggest thing in hip hop. Everybody loved it. 5 mics, the whole deal. Illmatic was a dud. It flopped. You know what I mean? It flopped. We had no idea that nobody was buying Illmatic. We had no idea that the first year it went double wood. You know what I mean? Like, we had no idea that it took 2 years, 3 years for that album to go gold and platinum. We didn't care. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't care. It was just, yo, this album is amazing. Have you heard it?
Right.
Nah, I need to hear it. Boom, boom. What happened is this thing turned into the fans being privy to record sales. And that's when it changed, because the fans is like, oh, he ain't selling no records. I don't want to hear that. You know what I mean? Like, oh, he don't got no followers. I don't want to hear that.
Yep.
Nah, take a listen to it. It could be the greatest thing you ever heard. So I use that as an example to go back to the Drake and Kanye thing, because that whole battle was about who was going to be number one on their opening week, who was going to have the number one album.
Yeah.
That's why it was like, yo, who going to drop first? Is Drake going to drop? Is Ye going to drop? I don't know either one of them. I'm not in those camps, but I have a strong feeling that it was a game of jump rope. Like, yo, who going in first? Nah, you going in first. You going in first, because it was, yo, whatever Son do, I need to one up that, because I need to outsell Son, and I need to be number one on the charts for my legacy and my history. And I can't have it where somebody, is looking at it like, oh man, Kanye beat him. Oh man, Drake beat him. So I don't know them. I'm not in those camps. So this is just me on the outside looking in. But that was what that was all about. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, yo, like, who gonna be number one? I ain't losing to you. I ain't losing to you. Yo, just put the music out and let the people love it. You know what I mean? And that's why I used an example about Illmatic. Illmatic was the greatest thing ever. And it took years for that to sell records. Nobody was buying that. You know what I mean? But it was the greatest thing ever, and we didn't care. You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't care less. I ain't know what Illmatic sold. Illmatic came out, I was 12. I didn't know what platinum was and gold was. All I knew was, yo, man, I need $10 to go to the store and get the tape. That's all I knew. Exactly. And that's all I needed to know as a fan. That shit changed, man. It changed when the people was made aware of the sales, when the media and the artists themselves, artists was using selling records as a marketing tool. Oh, already sold 400,000 first week. You got to go get it. So now the fan is like, oh, snap, 400,000. That must be a good thing. Okay, let me go get it. Now the next artist dropped. They sold 20,000. Oh, that motherfucker flop, man. I ain't fucking with that. That shit corny. Like, when the fans became privy of sales, all that shit changed. And you can't go backwards. Like, you can't introduce the microwave and then take the shit away. You can't go backwards. Say, it is what it is. It's done. You know what I mean? Like, fans are forever going to care about record sales. They're going to forever care about the numbers of streams and how many weeks you was number one on Billboard. And you can't introduce the microwave and then take the shit back. Like, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
But you're 100% right. I agree with you, right? And another question I have for you, right, is why are we as a culture, as a race, so sold on Black trauma, right? Now, if you look at Raising Kanan Power, you look at all these different shows that are out, and even relating back to the music. Like the Pooh Shiesties, the Back in Blood, the Little Durk, the King Vons. Why do we celebrate killing each other?
Right. I hear you. For one, it's Black death and Black drama and Black angst has always been entertaining to the people who don't live it. You know what I mean? Right. Like, it's always been entertaining to the people who don't experience it. That's number one. Number two, hip hop comes from, no matter how many subgenres of hip hop there are, which are all amazing, hip hop comes from the street. Hip hop comes from a place of despair. It comes from the hood. It comes from the inner city. It comes from, these are the things going on, and we need an outlet to speak about it. We don't sing. We're not singing love songs, hey, lonely girl, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have those harmonies. We didn't grow up in the church singing in the choir. Yo, man, this is the way we can get it out by doing this street poetry. And it's beautiful, the most beautiful thing in the world. but it still comes from the inner city. So no matter how many subgenres can grow off this tree, you still have this root. It's still rooted in a certain space. It's just how do you take care of it? I make music that talks about that stuff, but I don't talk about it in a glorifying way. Exactly. I talk about it in a way of, this is what's going on in my neighborhood. This is what was happening when I grew up. This is how it's still happening. These are the changes. These are the things that I'm hoping everyone coming after me is aware of and moves accordingly in light of this. So this is how I'm trying to protect my son from this, or whatever, you know, but it's more fun when it's like, you know, I'm in here going at it and clapping and bong bong, you know, like, and I get it. I get it. So, I mean, Give Rich or Die Trying is one of the greatest hip hop albums ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, without a doubt, it is one of the greatest hip hop albums ever. I lived through that era. It was amazing. You know what I mean? Like, as raw and uncut and 1,000 body count on that album, it was amazing. You know what I mean? It is a fantastic album. There's room for that. The problem is it shouldn't be everything, because that is certain people's realities. You know, I got friends where that's their reality. That's why I'm able to talk about some of the things I talk about. I got guys I grew up with that I'm with them every day. That's their reality. So if they rap, they're supposed to be able to speak on their reality. The problem became, well, you have to speak on this in order to make it and in order to go. And then it just became a wildfire and the forest burnt down, you know, and it's still burning. So, you know, I say all that to say there's room for everything. You know, there's room for that, and then there's room for the conscious. There's room for the club. There's room for all that, man. I tell people music is two things, especially hip-hop, but music is two things. You either relate to it or you escape to it. You know, my music, you relate to. It's the music that you listen to. You like, yep, I'm dealing with that too. Yep, I'm going through that as well. Damn, somebody understands me. I don't even know Skyzoo, and I feel like he's talking to me. I feel like I'm looking in the mirror listening to him. Right. Then you got the music you escape to. You got Rick Ross. You got, you know, Future. You got Migos. And that stuff is needed, because if it's a Friday night and you was working for 2 weeks and you got your check and you had a horrible week at work, you just want to let go. And you want to go to the club and you want to escape and you want to pretend. So you in the club screaming, I think I'm Big Meech, Larry Hoover, and you spending all your money that you made from your job on bottle service, and you're going to regret it on Monday morning. But for the night or for the weekend, you had a hell of a time and you was able to let go and release. And that shit is needed. You know, if I go to strip club, I'm not trying to hear, you know, records about gentrification. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to hear records about chicks bending over. You know what I'm saying? Right. But now if I'm driving out of town, or if I'm cleaning my house, or if I'm vibing, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear records with stories about gentrification and cultural appropriation and street and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I want to hear that. There's room for all of it. It's just, in our genre, man, they don't let it be. We're the only genre that do that. Everybody else, you can have different sounds and stories within rock and roll and blues and R&B. And we're the only genre that's like, yo, it got to be one way, you know? So, and it's very perplexing, man. It's a very layered thing.
I mean, I feel you, and I agree with you 100%, but I feel like sometimes hip-hop can be contradictory, right? Because, so you got, and this is me saying, it's just the way I feel. So you have Future that's talking about lean and perks and everything, but then he came out and said that he doesn't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I just feel like you are saying what you, like, what people that listen to your music should do, and people are actually going out getting lean and popping the perks and everything.
Right, like and risking their life and all that.
Exactly. They're risking their lives because a rapper said do it, but then he comes out and says, I don't really do it. I just make music for you to do it. That's detrimental to our culture.
I agree with you 100%. And going back to what I was saying, you know, like I said, we this whole time we're saying the same things. You know, because me saying that there's a lane for all that and there's room for all that, if that's your truth and that's your life, then please spit it, because there's people out there that can relate to it. You know what I mean? Like, no matter what it is. I mean, Eminem made records about living in a trailer park with his moms and blah, 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 blah. Like, there's billions of people that related to that, as we've seen, you know? So, so if your truth is you pop pills and you in the trap, please kick that shit. I don't want to hear you kick about, you know, I have a dream and all that, if you know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you wasn't raised conscious, you know, in a conscious Black Panther household, I don't want you pretending that you were and then getting the story wrong. And you know what I mean? Leading people down the wrong direction. Tell me who you are. But like you said, it becomes, well, I don't really do that. I just do it because that's what they want to hear. And that's a humongous problem. I mean, there was movies made about it, CB4, you know what I mean? It was just, yo, this is what's hot. This is what they want to hear. Let's do it. And that's always been the problem. And for me, I've always been about the opposite. Like, nah, I'm just going to do what I do. I mean, I made an album about gentrification. I made an album about Black fatherhood, you know? And
it's very dope, sir.
Right. Thank you. I made an album about Black fatherhood when nobody would do that. You know what I mean? Like, and that was why I did it, because I noticed nobody was speaking about that. I was like, yo, nobody is doing anything like this. Everybody had a fucked up dad. That's not true. Everybody in hip hop had a fucked up dad. That's not true. Right. Some people, yeah, absolutely, but not everybody, bro. Like, you know what I mean?
But they that's why I made that to sell records, though.
Exactly.
100%, 100%, which is why I made the record, to be the opposite of that, to show the other side and be anti that, you know? But because, like you said, it's not cool to be like, yo, I grew up with both of my parents. They look at you like a sucker. I've never been a sucker in my life, but I had my parents every day of my life. They ain't live in the same house as you hear on the record. You know what I mean? It was two different houses, but I had my parents every single day, both of them. You know, I was bouncing back and forth, house to house every other day, you know? So never was a day that I didn't speak to both of my parents, ever. You know what I'm saying? And in my whole 38 and a half years of existence. But it sound raw and street and real when you could say, yo, man, we ain't have it. And, you know, my dad left and my mom's. If that's your life, please kick it. I want to hear it. But if that's not your life, don't pretend because you think that sound cooler, it's more rugged, and it'll get you further. Like, what'll get you further is just doing what you do and figuring out the best way to do that and how to market it to the people who want that. That's how you'll get busy and you'll make it, you know. But they don't tell these kids that, you know, like you said, you know, they don't tell these kids that. You see numbers and you think, I got to go get that by any means. I got to go get that, you know?
Right. Well, I know you you busy, man, but I just want to say I appreciate everything you do for hip hop, man. Like you are.
Nah, thank you.
You're
thank
great,
you,
man. Like celebration of us, man. I still play that album, man. I play it for my kids, milestones. You're just an all around great artist, man. And I just say I appreciate you. That's why I reached out to you. You know, I'm new at this podcast thing, but I think it would be better to reach out to somebody that I can relate to, that's conscious, that's authentic, that can be accepted by, you know, Conway and Benny the Butcher and all them, and still be able to be authentic and not, you know, act like you some type of thug or something. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say I appreciate you, man.
Nah, man, absolutely. You know, the thing about my career, it's ill the way you summarize it, because that's always what it's been, right? Like, you know, I'm Sam with Griselda. Those are my guys. Like that's family. We go to each other's house. You know what I'm saying? Right. And I'm on a bunch of their records. They on a bunch of my records, and it never sounds out of place. Exactly. And then I could go do records with Talib Kweli and Black Thought, and you know what I mean, and Jill Scott. Right. And those records don't sound out of place. And that, you know, that's always been my career as an artist. I've been the person who can just blend in with all of it while being me. Like if I get on a Griselda record, I don't pretend to be Griselda, then get on a Kweli record and pretend to be Kweli. I'm Skyzoo every trip, whether I'm on a record with Griselda, Kweli, or if I did a record tomorrow with, you know, Coldplay. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be me. Like if I'm on a record with Coldplay, I'm gonna drop something in there about the corner store because that's me. You know what I mean? Like straight up and down. So, you know, I've always been somebody who the authenticity and the consistency have been the things that have gotten me where I'm at and kept me rolling and kept me going. And, you know, when people notice it, like you said, you know, that's when you know you're doing what you got to do, you know. So we talk about A Celebration of Us, which, you know, is one of my favorite albums that I've ever done. And it's near and dear to me because I made that album while my son was still in the oven. You know, he was still baking. And knowing he was on the way, I was just inspired to make the blackest album I could ever make because I knew I was getting ready to introduce a little black boy into this world. Yes, so I was like, I want to make an album that is the blackest album I could ever make that represents black culture, black people, black pride, black love, everything, you know, the ups, downs, highs, lows, the whole gauntlet, you know, because a lot of times when people tackle black culture in hip hop, you know, they only talk about, you know, the celebration side. And that's beautiful. I mean, I named the album Celebration of Us, but I wanted to also get down to, well, here's the things that we go through and that we've been through, and here's why. And a lot of that is not our fault. Some of it is our fault because it's things that we've done to ourselves. Okay, so let's get to the root of that. Well, those things that we've done to ourselves and our fault, they're still kind of not our fault because it goes back to 400 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yes,
so, like,
sir.
you know, you look at Kenya Barris, who I'm a fan of, and when you watch a lot of his work, he always goes back to slavery. There's always a joke, whether it's Blackish or Black as Fuck or whatever. Like, he always goes back to, you know, this is because of slavery, right? You know, this is 400 years ago, right? You know, everything can be traced back to slavery. But he always uses that joke, and it's a joke that never gets old because it's real. It's like, you know, the reason why heads is killing each other for a pair of sneakers in the project, or the reason why a baby moms feel like her 2-year-old got to have Jordans on in the project no matter what. You know that shit goes back to slavery, right? And they'll be like, nah, what you talking about? That don't even make sense. And you can break it down and get to the root of it. This is why this goes back to slavery. This is why we don't let nobody even look at us funny on the train. This is why if we at the supermarket and somebody accidentally brushes up against us, we react a certain way. It all goes back to slavery. You know what I mean? So, like, you know, I wanted to use the album to kind of explore those things. We talking about Celebration of Us. I wanted to use the album to, you know, kind of explore those things and really break all that down and be like, even the stuff that we've done to ourselves, we didn't really do to ourselves. But let's break it down. We're gonna take credit for what we did, but let's get to the root of that too. You know, so I wanted to make the most honest Black album that I could ever make, and I was very inspired by Solange, A Seat at the Table, and you know, I thought that was a phenomenal album. And when I heard it, I was like, man. And I was like, man, I want to go. I want to go make some music, you know? And it's funny, when it came out, people compared it to that. They was like, yo, this is like the hip hop version of that. So, you know, that was awesome. And, you know, throughout my career, there's always been just this range with all of my projects, whether we're talking about Music for My Friends or Retropolitan or The Easy Truth, or, you know, there's always been this range. And like you said, I've always been able to blend and do certain things and be myself within it. I've never jumped on a record and was like, I don't know how to approach this without being me. I'm not going to do the record if that's the case. You know, like, you can put me on a record with Migos right now, and I'm telling you, it's going to be like, yo, I ain't expect that. That shit is pretty great. Skyzoo went crazy on there. You're not going to be like, oh, man, what are we doing? And I proved it on All the Brilliant Things, you know, when I was supposed to be a trap rapper, the second half of the record, when it turns into a trap record, you know, and I did that on purpose because in order for the point to hit home with that song, I had to do that. You know, I had to say, let me prove it. The whole record I'm talking about, this is how I grew up. These are the people I grew up around. These are the circumstances I grew up around. This thing was supposed to go another way. I was listening to Dilla while I was listening to State Property. I was listening to the Locks while I was listening to Little Brother. And this is why I made a left instead of a right. But let me prove to you everything I'm talking about. Because you can hear it and be like, yeah, bullshit, whatever. All right, that's cute. But let me show you. So that trap beat comes on, it's Paper Made trying to poke something, that homies, y'all can float something. And you like, oh, but then you hear what I'm saying, and you like, yo, is he still giving double entendres in the trap joint with the double time? And it makes sense. And it's not like he trying to be, and I'm talking heinous on there, you know, cop work with a go yard, treated as part of the flip, drug sales come with shooters, and model bitches to maneuver. Y'all made it cool to be the user, so I get paid to be the loser. Fuck it. Like, you know, it's like, whoa, like he's doing the trap shit and he's telling a story in it and it makes fucking sense. And I'm a conscious fan, but goddamn, I like the end of this trap record. You know what I mean? Like that's the science of it, of what I've been able to do. Like, you know, and that's not a flex. That's just me explaining who I am. Like, you know, that's the science of what I've been able to do, man. And I'm very proud of that. You know, I don't know too many other MCs that could do that. You know, I don't know too many MCs that could do that and make sense of it. I mean, Jay was doing it. Jay did an album with Limp Bizkit. Jay, you know what I mean? Like, he did records with the Roots and all that. Outside of that, I don't know too many artists who could really do that. You know, Big could have did it if they gave him enough time. If Big didn't die, yeah, absolutely, Big could have did it. But, you know, I don't know too many artists that could carry that like that. And I'm proud of that, you know, and that's all a testament to who I grew up listening to. Because, like I said, I was listening to, you know, the Locks, and then I was listening to the Roots. All at the same time, you know. I mean, it was one or the other. Like, growing up, it was one or the other, you know. But I was listening to both. Like, I remember the day when Jay-Z, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, Outkast, Aquemini, and was it Aquemini? Yeah, Aquemini, and Black Star, Black on Both Sides came out the same day. I had all three of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? I had all three the first day. You know, as it was getting one, I had all three the first day. And that's why I'm able to work the way I work, you know, because of those moments when I was in 10th grade. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, man, like I said, man, like we appreciate you. Like real hip hop heads that don't gotta switch up and do something. You're always authentic, and that's why I reached out to you, man. So big up to you.
Thank you, man.
And I wish you a more illustrious career, man.
Hey, is there anything you want to promote or anything that you got going on that you want to tell the people?
Oh man, you know, just the album, All the Brilliant Things, is out now. You know, and you know, it's been a great ride, and it's a blessing. It's been at the top of all these year-end lists and all that stuff, and that's been amazing because, you know, if you're being honest, it definitely deserves to be in that best 5 of the year, best 3 of the year. You know, if you're really being honest and you really break down what I'm doing on it,
Right.
Absolutely. So that's been a blessing, man, and I'm just very blessed to have the career that I have. You know, I've been making money off of music solely for 15 years now. You know, haven't had to work a job in 15 years, haven't struggled in 15 years, thank God. You know, so it's all a testament to the people, you know. It's a testament to people like yourselves, you know, the fans who I prefer to call fam, you know, like family, you know. It's all a testament to y'all of me being able to make the music I make, be creative, be dope, not have to, you know, change up anything or even contemplate and changing up anything, and be successful in my own right, you know. So thank you to all of y'all, people like yourselves and everybody listening who's on that same type of time. And shout to y'all on your endeavors with the podcast. I know you said it's new, so salute to y'all for doing this, man, and keep in touch. You know, it's love, 100%. If there was anything else you wanted to get into, I know I had to run. I might have another anything else, an album, a line, or this or that you wanted to break down, you know, before I go. I just want to make sure I show that love. You know what I mean?
No, man, you believe me, you showed a lot of love, man. I appreciate you, man. But like I said, I will reach out again, you know what I'm saying? And we can have another conversation, man. But I appreciate you.
Yeah. Next time the next album come around, you know what I'm saying, we do another 30 minutes or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So
Yes, sir, I appreciate you, man.
It's love, man.
I appreciate it.
Nah, absolutely. I appreciate you know, the spins and the love and, you know, what y'all doing. And like I said, continue on your path, rock and roll, man, and we'll get up for sure.
I appreciate you, man.
Right.
Be easy.
All right. Peace and love, y'all.
All right.
Peace.